Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Hope that this is kind of blurry, kind of blurry here. But good morning, good morning. Just wanted to come on and talk to you all for just a little bit about this situation with a couple of situations. One of them is the judicial corruption, that continues to take place in our judicial system. And it seems like, no one's paying attention and we don't have an overseer of the judicial corruption that continues to take place. And we see so many uh, situations where the laws don't work in the favor of the African American citizen. And I wanted to speak out about this because I've been following a lot of the, judicial corruption and these decisions that are continually being made. And it doesn't never seem to be in the favor of the African American woman or man. And what I see is so many different stories about, uh, you know, the so many different stories about white people um, committing crimes. A lot of white people committing crimes and getting away with it, or they get less sentencing, or they get bond. And I think that's the biggest thing right now is that, uh, they're committing these crimes and they're getting bonds, or they are extending bonds in the judicial system, but yet and still, when it comes to certain people in the judicial system, they're not extending the bond. They keep bringing up things that happened years ago, or they keep tacking on or adding on all these different charges regarding Mr. Kelly. And I use him not to talk about him because everyone else is talking about him, but I use him as a prime example. But he's not the only example of someone that has judicial, uh, you know, faced judicial corruption where he's, incarcerated, or where someone's incarcerated, and there's judicial corruption in the system, so they become the victim of judicial corruption. And I do believe that he has faced a lot of judicial corruption and have become the victim. And I know people might say um, that what about the victims that he allegedly harmed or he hurt? And I'm going to say this: until I see proof, real proof, that there are victims out there that he allegedly harmed, then I can't go along with what the media is saying. I can't go along with the multitude of evil. I cannot go along and raise a hand, uh, you know, to a false report, because then I would be just as guilty of not being fair and just as God calls us to, because God calls us to be fair and just. He calls us to love one another. He calls us to forgive others. He calls us not to kick someone when they're down. Good morning, heal the land. Thank you for joining. He calls us to be honest and fair when it comes to other people. And I do believe that it doesn't matter what someone has done, we still need to give the presumption of innocence. We still need to abide by the laws of the land that God has established and created. We still need to give that presumption of innocence, because I wasn't there as an eyewitness. I wasn't there as a ear witness. And I say that a lot in a lot of my messages. I'm not an eyewitness or an ear witness to what transpired between Mr. Robert Kelly and any of the accusers or anyone else that was there. I wasn't there. But I do have the common sense and the heart, the love in my heart, and my beliefs in Jesus Christ, that because he's a fair God, just and fair God, that we have to be fair and just. So therefore, all of the people that are saying that he's guilty, but they weren't there, I think you have to examine your hearts for the sin that you may harbor in your own hearts that you may not recognize, because there's a lot of sin going on, and we are not perfect individuals. We are not perfect creatures. The only creature that's perfect that I would say is Jesus Christ. He's perfect in every way. And so therefore we have to examine our own selves and look at the situation and say, am I being fair to someone that I was not there? I didn't participate. I didn't hear or see. So am I being fair to this man? Yes, he's been accused of things. Yes, he's being charged. Yes, he's incarcerated. But am I being fair to humanity? Because he's still a person. He's still a man. And I would not want to be in his shoes to where I'm being persecuted in not only in the public media, but also in the hands of family members that have that have dragged him so much. And so when I look at the judicial system, I want to believe we all, we want to believe that the judicial system is going to work according to the statutes of what God has established. But it doesn't work that way because we have men that have come in and they have corrupted the judicial system. The judicial system has been corrupted by man. It never was corrupted by God. It was corrupted by man and woman, because we have women in the judicial system even practicing corrupting themselves. And so therefore, the judicial system is corrupt. And so we still have to be like the widow, that we don't give up and we keep on going to the judges and we keep on using our voices to speak out in a way that they hear us. Because see, they don't hear us. They don't hear us if we stand back and say we forgive. Yes, we forgive, but we don't want to talk about forgiveness like that, because then they just think that it's okay to continue to do us wrong. It's okay to continue to just break laws and to violate our rights as human citizens. So do I forgive you? I may forgive you, but you may never know that I have forgiven you, because see, I'm not ever going to operate from an angry point of view. I'm never going to operate from hate. I'm going to always operate from love, because I got God on my side and he's watching everything that's happening. So all of you women, and I'm going to say this, whether you like it or not, I'm going to speak my voice. And all of you women that have falsely accused a man, and I am keeping it real, because see, this is not just something that I can look out there and say it happened to them and it happened to them over there. I can say that I have suffered of this judicial corruption in my family. I have suffered judicial corruption and pain and suffering, even as a victim, even as a survivor. So what I'm saying is that I have suffered these things, and so there I'm going to speak what I speak, because see, when I tell my story, nobody can tell my story but me. But when I tell my story, I'm going to tell my story with the truth. I'm going to tell my story because I know that the story that I tell, God is counting on me to tell the right story. He's counting on me to be honest and true and fair in my story, because he's a just and fair God. And so I want him to be fair and just with me. So when I tell my story, I'm going to tell the story. The truth of the matter is, I've seen judicial corruption. I've seen them continue to try to take down the black man. I've seen them trying to kill all of our black men and remove the heterosexual families to try to get rid of the nuclear family. And as God is my witness, he established Adam and Eve back in Genesis. You can never get rid of what God has already established. And so you are trying to get rid of and sabotage and kill all black men. But I have to stand up and use my voice, because my voice is important. And so I'm saying that all of the women out there that have lied on men, this didn't happen with R. Kelly. See, let us go back and look at it in the past, way back then, when they did Emmett Till and when they did the young man, and I don't recall his name right now, but his accuser came out on social media, on Facebook, and said she lied and she collected all this money from the school system. I'm keeping it real, because this just didn't start with R. Kelly. It started a long time ago with women lying, and women lie too, and they keep lying. And now we have the Me Too movement and all of this going on saying, believe all women. I cannot believe you if you're not a real victim. I cannot believe you if you are lying. See, I know about being a real victim, and I know others that have been a real victim. So don't tell me nothing about that you can just, I can heal the way I want to heal. Let me tell you something. If you've been assaulted, if you've been raped, if you've been molested, if those things have happened to you, you are not going to get on social media and act a fool and continue to talk about your accuser in the way that you've done and lying and making up stories just to grab a bag, just to have fame and notoriety. You're not going to do those things because it is a lifetime of healing when things have happened. Do you go to therapy? Yes, you do. Do you go to counseling? Yes, you do. But you either have police reports, you have testimony, you have people that can collaborate your story, you have hospital reports, you have those things to back up what you're saying. And unless you don't have those things, it's just a story. It's a story to make money. It's a story to be heard. But I'm saying with these women that lie, you know what? You keep telling these fibs, and you keep on going around talking about what your accuser, alleged accuser, did to you. But how is that helping women heal when you sit here on these platforms and you talk about you want to empower women? How are you going to empower women when all you can talk about is the negativism that happened in the relationship? And some of you know a lot of it that you're saying, like the Michael Avenatti that's corrupt. And he's walking around free right now, but he's been convicted. So you telling a story, 90% of it is probably false. But you're telling this story and you're saying you want to empower women. You cannot empower women being negative. You cannot empower women and with hate in your heart. See, real victims and survivors, we are empowered by love. We're empowered by healing. We're empowered by how we got over, how we made it out of that situation, and how now we're living our life and we're trying to move on. And if we're raising children or raise children, we're just trying to live a life of peace. We're trying to live a life that can be productive to really, really help other women. And when we are serious about helping other women, we will go and get credentials. We will go even get an education so that we can be effective for the real victims and survivors out there. So if you're getting on a platform and you're just talking about what your alleged accuser did to you, and you have no type of credentials to help real victims, all you have is a negative, bitter, angry story. That's what you have. How is that helping real victims and women? How is that saying that I'm going to empower women by talking about something that I say happened to me and you're angry and negative about it? That's not helping real victims. That's not. Because see, as a survivor, you're not going to keep talking about the alleged accuser or the perpetrator. You're going to talk about how they can heal, how a woman can heal, how she can survive and live her life another way, and how she doesn't have to accept anything. She doesn't have to be in that place she was in before. You're going to talk about how you can live your life and what you put up with and what you don't put up with. You're going to set boundaries. You're going to teach things about boundaries. You're going to teach these things about how to heal. You're not going to get on no platform and keep speaking negative about the person you claim hurt you. And with all of the acrobatic positions that I've seen you in, all of the acrobatic positions, Drea Kelly, that I've seen you in, half naked, legs spread wide as the ocean. I'm just keeping it real today. I'm keeping it real. And I'm keeping it real. This is real talk because I've seen you and you say that he did this to me, he did that to me, but you was a willing participant. And you're still a willing participant. But now you've moved towards a willing participant in chasing money, in chasing a bag, and sabotaging your children's father. But let me say this. You know, it says a lot about you. If you get on your platform and talk about your children's father in the derogatory manner that you have done so, it says a lot about you as a woman. Because know what it's saying? It's saying that what decisions are you capable of making? And then your daughter lost her baby. And I'm so sorry for her because I did a video already on it. And you're sitting here bashing this man that could have been a potential grandfather that could have bridged the gap between the family. Restoration. See, When you want to empower, I'm not even women, but not just women, but when you want to empower others, you're going to try to bridge the gap. Restoration. You're going to try to build bridges to bring people back together for healing, for love, for peace. You're going to have to extend that grace and mercy that God has extended already to us. And you will never treat anybody less than human. You won't continue to drag anybody through the mud and turn around and say that you earned that name. Let me tell you something. The name that you were born with is the name that you have. And when you marry, then yes, you choose to take on the more than likely the husband's name. But I've never heard such foolishness that you said that you earned your husband's name, that you earned that name, and then give a foolish statement. That is very foolish. You cannot earn a name, not somebody's name. Now, you may be able to earn a name of foolishness, earn a name of evilness, earn a name of hatefulness, earn a name of, hey, that person over there is the best person or whatever. You may be able to earn a name of good or bad. But right now, the name you're earning is bad. The name you're earning is not for good. The name that you're earning is not to help victims. It is to sabotage anything that a victim might have thought they were on their way to healing. And now you are out here making a mockery of victims that really have been harmed, survivors that really have been through it and have survived. So you tell me something about, you claim this happened to you, but I'm talking about real victims that were going to jump out a window for real. And they jumped out that window to get away from their perpetrator, to get away, that they have a black eye, and they went to the doctor, and the doctor said that I don't know if your eye is still going to be able to work, or you're still going to be able to see out of that eye. I'm talking about real victims that have had knives that they throw. They have been stabbed. They have been pushed off of a rail. I'm talking about real victims. And when you go through the situation and you still survive even after everything that you've been through, a real victim don't have hate in their heart. Most real victims that have survived have love for other people. And they're fair and they're just. And they want to see justice done. But they're going to tell their story as a testimony to help other people. They're not going to tell their testimony to get ratings, to get likes and clicks, and to get notoriety and continue to be relevant. Most victims want to go hide under a rock because they're humiliated and they're ashamed and they're embarrassed. And sometimes they feel like that it was their fault. Real victims are not going to get on social media and keep bashing their perpetrator or accused perpetrator. They're not going to do that. And you, as a Black woman, you have failed on many levels. And I'm telling you, you failed on many levels by doing this. And you don't have to like it, Drea. You don't have to like what I'm saying, but you have failed on many levels when it comes to trying to help real victims. Show me your credentials that you can do it, because you have no credentials. If you did, you wouldn't do it that way. You'd come from a whole different level. You don't. And your testimony, usually testimonies are used to help other people, to bless other people, not to be negative over and over and over, and then have all these contradicting stories about my baby daddy and buy tickets for him because I need to pay the bills and the light bill. No. And I'm saying no, because it's time out for that. You should be called out in the right way. And then you say that you love God. You say that your heart honors him, because I've seen you many times. Excuse me, your lips honor him, but your heart is far from God when you do that. And you keep on bashing. And the word of God even tells us not to kick a person when they're down. And I'm probably paraphrasing, because I got my Bible here. It's always close by me. But I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk this because you know what? We got to trust God even when life hurts. You're not trusting God, you're trusting the system, a corrupt system, a judicial system that's corrupt. That's what you're trusting. You're not trusting God. You're trusting chasing a bag, and you're trusting money, and you're trusting other people that have participated in the takedown of Robert Kelly. That's what you're trusting. And any other woman that have lied on any man, any other woman that have lied on any man, because you failed to be a virtuous woman and work the way you're supposed to work, to do what's right by your family. So you use other people to get ahead. You didn't earn no name. You can't earn a name like that. Not a family name, not a person's name. So stop the foolishness. Stop that nonsense and that buffoonery, or whatever you want to call it. Stop it. Because you can't earn a name. And then you go back and you don't even talk about this man that you married, Brian P. McKee. You married somebody else after your divorce. Yes, I'm calling it out today. I'm human and I'm calling it out. You married somebody else. Why aren't you chasing that bag then? You know why? Because that's not a brand that can get notoriety. That's not a brand. Following the multitude of evil is what you're doing. Following the multitude of evil, Exodus. You're following the multitude of evil because you can get money and you can get notoriety, and people are going to flock to you to hear your story. People are going to flock to you to be entertained. So you don't talk about Brian P. McKee, the man you married in 6 days or whatever it was, allegedly, but I read the story that you married this guy. You don't talk about what he did. Cheating on you. That's disrespect. That's dishonor. That's a form of abuse. Why not talk about that? But every day, whenever you come on or whenever you do, you're talking about R. Kelly. Enough is enough. Let it go. Go get help if you really need help. Being hogtied, you've shown us all of the positions. You've shown us all of the positions that you're capable of, and probably even more we haven't seen. So so when you say hogtied, you probably, oh my gosh. But however, stop it. Stop it with the nonsense. Stop it with this. Examine your heart. Examine yourself. Examine it, because God expects us to be honest. God expects us to do the right thing. God expects us, to be fair and just in our dealings and even in our stories. When you tell your story, tell the truth. When you tell your story, tell it with love and compassion to help others. It can't be the only motive your testimony or story should have is to help others, to help move people to a place of healing, to move people to a better place than where they were before. No one should ever leave the same way that they came in. And as I listen to your story over and over, I've listened to your story. And even months ago, when I first started hearing your story, I didn't accept it because I know what it's like to be a real victim, and I know what it's like to be a survivor. And I've had enough of you making a mockery. And some women will never, ever get the chance to tell their real story. Some women will never get that chance. While you sit up and make a mockery of real victims and survivors. We don't want to hear it anymore, Drea. We're tired of it. Get a real life. Get some healing. Repent of your unconfessed sins, Drea. That's what you need to do. And I'm saying it. And if anybody want to come on my channel, haters all, whatever, because I'm keeping it real. Because you're going to tell your story, tell the truth. Quit lying and quit bashing people. Tell the truth. And if you've been hurt, get help. And tell your story that can help other women, real victims. And stop telling this foolishness. And as we move on, I'm going to talk about this other story, because it relates to Drea Kelly saying that she earned her name through blood, sweat, and tears. Stop it. Because, if you really been harmed and hurt, and you say that R. Kelly is a monster, you say all those things about him, then why would you want to keep a name of a person that you say hurt you so bad and did all these monstrous things to you and grievous things to you? Why would you want to hold that name and say you earned it? You contrary, you make no sense. That's why I say it's foolishness. And anybody that's listening to it and going along with it, I pray for you that God will open up your eyes and see the truth. See, we have to have a level of awareness and discernment. Because if things like that happen, you don't want to be on platforms bragging about how you earned your name through blood, sweat, and tears. That makes no sense whatsoever. It's foolish, is what it is. And I'm not buying it. And if I have to stand alone, I stand alone. Because I stand alone many times. Because I can't go along with wrongness, and I can't go along with foolishness. And I'm not going to go along with unfairness and unjust stuff going on. And then Nicole, Nicole Young, you don't own Andre Young's name. What is with these women? All of a sudden, every woman that feels like that they've been married and it doesn't work out, that they feel like they own they own that man's name. What's with these women doing that? Oh, I own that name. You don't own anything, not when it comes to a name. Because you're contradicting yourself too, that this man did this and now you want to subpoena all these other women. And they say no. And I'm glad right now they're saying no. And I hope they keep saying no. You don't get to find out what my personal life was with it. You don't get to put me on the stand and expose me for anything just because you're selfish and that you want to take a black man down. Let me tell you something. Even if I was that woman that might have allegedly had an affair with him, I'm not going to get on a stand and help you take down another black man. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to help you do it, because let me tell you something. If I was that woman, allegedly, that had an affair with another man, I'm not going to help you take down somebody, because if I knew the man was married, I'm just as wrong and guilty as they are for getting involved with a married man. See, people want to get here and they want to use other people, but they don't realize it's deeper than that. Let's just keep it real. Let's just say, you get involved with a married man, and then I'm going to get on a stand and talk about, yeah, I was involved with this man. Why would I do that when I'm just as guilty and in sin? And what does that say about me as a person? See, this is not making no sense with these women wanting to keep this name, even though they are complaining of what happened to them, but they're saying they earned a name and all of this other nonsense. It's nonsense after nonsense. All over money. And a couple of months ago, I did a story about how she was under investigation for embezzling money, for stealing money. But you want the world to believe that this man is such a horrible man, but you were stealing money. Sin is sin, and no sin is greater than the other sin. And you want us to feel sorry and you earned his name, you deserve everything you get. You know what? I'm not. Because sin is still sin, and it takes two to make a relationship work. And so, you know what? All of this foolishness of killing black men, judicial corruption, can't get a bond, wanting to take everything somebody worked hard for with their talents. You want to do those things. You want to bring it out in the world, and you want everybody to follow you. and to support you in all of this mess with these women. That's what you want. It's really disgusting. It's sad. And it's to the point where I believe that if you believe in justice, if you believe in being fair, if you have a relationship with Christ, but even if you don't and you still believe in justice and fairness, I encourage you to speak out. I encourage you to stand up and use your voice and denounce these things that are going on. Denounce the behaviors, denounce the sin, denounce these false narratives, denounce this mess and these lies, denounce the injustice. Because just because people go along with the multitude of evil, don't be afraid to stand alone. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. Don't be afraid to use your voice. Don't be afraid. Yeah, they're going to probably try to come at you and attack you and talk about you, but they talked about Jesus. They lied on him and called him a drunkenness. They pierced him in the side. You know, they hung him on a cross. They stripped him and they pierced him in the side. What is all the things that they did to Jesus? We got to stop believing these narratives and these false myths. We got to do the research. We got to find out for ourselves, and we got to use discernment. Common sense, but discernment. And that God will give us a reasonable mind and a reasonable way of thinking to denounce this stuff that's going on out here right now, to denounce it. I can't go along with foolishness. I can't go along with the multitude of evil. I've never been one to follow people like that. I've never been one to just everybody's doing it, I'm going to do it. I've never been one like that. And I'm keeping it real. Even from a small child, I've always had my own mind to do what I felt was right in my heart. I've never, ever followed a crowd just because they were following the crowd. I don't believe in that. I've stood alone many times, even on my job. I stood alone. When everybody was gossiping, I stood alone. When everybody wanted to attack somebody, I stood alone and I prayed for them. But I intervened and said, we don't do it that way. Did I get backlash and all that? Yeah, they tried to. But I still stood alone. Because I don't believe in lying on people. I don't believe in sabotaging people. I don't believe in being unfair. I believe in fairness. I believe in just. And as I stand on the word of God, because most of my messages is about social issues and problems from a biblical standpoint. And I stand on the word of God. I refuse to participate in the downfall of any man. And look, there have been white men, but what I see so much of is black men. And we as black women, we go beyond measures to stand up for black men. And I know a lot of black women do. We go beyond measures to stand up for black men. And so I want to say to the black men today, stand up, stand with us in the fight against injustice, because you are the black man that's going to be facing possibly persecution, possibly facing judicial corruption. Speak out, black men, because you could be next. See, most of us black women, a lot of us have sons, maybe not all, but a lot of us have sons and even daughters. Speak out, stand by us, stand with us as we stand up for you. Use your voice, stand up, be the leader. Take the lead, but see that we are standing up, because I am tired but I'm not going to give up. But am I tired? Yeah, but I'm not giving up. But what I'm tired of, not in spirit and not in physical, but I'm tired of the foolishness of Black women and women in general lying, trying to take down every Black man and lying. And then prosecution is sitting there, encouraging them to lie and painting these narratives. And that's what happens. And they lie. And then later it's on their conscience that they got to come back after this man has served time in jail and say that they told me to do it. They coerced me into lying. But if you have any type of integrity and dignity and character about yourself, you will not participate in the prosecution that tries to coerce you. Will say no. I'm willing to go to jail than to lie on somebody that I know didn't do the things that you want me to say they did. I'm willing to sacrifice it all because I'm not going to lie on someone that I know is innocent. We got to be willing to stand up and sacrifice. And for the Black men, you got to be willing to sacrifice even more because you're the ones right now facing persecution or possibly facing it. And guess what? It could be your son or daughter. I heard a story and you know what? Women, females, and I will say females. And when I say females, the age, it could be any age, have been lying for years. They have been lying for years. I know what I'm talking about. When they start lying on your children and your sons, lying. They did this to me. They did that to me. Lying is what they do. But thank God there's a God that sits high and looks low. Because you know what? I know the same son, and it could be any son, can be facing persecution, prosecution, judicial corruption when a young woman or a woman lie on a man. And and let me tell you something. I'm speaking to women that have lied now. I want to be clear on that. Not real victims and survivors. I'm speaking about women that have lied. You've lied, and this man serves all this time. Women that have lied to get money, to get a bag, to get notoriety and fame, have lied. Stop it. You sit here and you're lying on these men because you're upset, you're scorned, you're whatever you want to be, and you're lying on these men. So men, you got to take the lead and you have got to speak up, you have got to speak out, and you have got to stand side by side with the Black woman that's standing up fighting against injustice and spiritual corruption, because there is spiritual corruption in the there is judicial corruption in the judicial system. There is judicial corruption. There's so much corruption in the judicial system, and we have got to stand up to denounce and fight against this judicial corruption that's going on, because God did not plan for it to be that way. He did not establish the government for it to be all this judicial corruption going on. He did not. He did not establish it that way. And so we got to take the lead and stand up. And men, you got to be a part of this, because most of you, it's a possibility that you're going to face judicial corruption. And you might have already been incarcerated before. And if you have, you know what I'm talking about. If you faced it, you know what I'm talking about. If you've been lied on, you know what I'm talking about. Because I know some men that have been lied on. And this has been going on for years. So women that are out here lying, we denounce your lies. We're tired of it. And we're speaking out. And I encourage any other woman to speak out. Because I have a son. I have brothers. And I know people with sons and brothers and cousins. Yes, I do. And I'm speaking out. Because I've had enough of these foolish stories and lies. And for every man, and I won't mention names, but for every man that have been lied on, that have had to face judicial corruption, have had to face a jury, or had to deal with an attorney to pay your way to try to keep them from incarcerating you because a woman has lied on you. I am sorry that you have been through that. I am sorry that if you've spent time in prison and you've lost a loved one while you was incarcerated because a woman lied on you, I'm sorry for your loss. I'm sorry for everything that you have been through. If a woman has lied on you and you are truly innocent, I am sorry. Believe me, I have shed many tears over false incarcerations, over lies, over judicial corruption. See, a long time ago, when I was a college student returning to school, my son was 11, going on 12. And I remember in one of my classes, I had to write, we all have to write these papers. By the time we finish, I'm sure we're tired of writing papers. But I interviewed 2 victims of domestic violence. 2. And it was real domestic violence. It was real. And not one time. And one of the victims, we're still friends. She's never, ever got on any platform and bashed her perpetrator. And she went through all the right channels. All the right channels. I know what I'm talking about. And to this day, you may be able to go on with your life. But let me tell you, for most victims, it's a lifelong healing process because there are triggers that can make you cry, can make you have flashbacks. It's a lifelong healing process. But every victim that I know that's a survivor now, they don't get on any platform and be bashing their alleged accused or perpetrator. They just don't do that. And I know there's things have changed and we come from this to this now, but no. How many real victims and survivors do you see bashing? They don't, because you know what? They don't want to have no parts of it. Some of them are still running for their lives. And even if they're no longer running, do you know, it's like mentally incarcerated, but physically free. So when you get out here on these platforms, women that have lied and are still lying and make a mockery of real victims and survivors, You do a disservice to every woman that really has been violated in some kind of way. You do a disservice. And whatever progress that we have made moving forward, you push it all the way back with this nonsense. Because now what I hear from a lot of men, and especially Black men, they have trust issues. And it's difficult because they have trust issues. Because of your lies and your false accusations. And they see, not only that, I wrote a paper on Black men suffer more in the hands of the judicial system. And how many women that really have suffered at the hands of an abuser or perpetrator, and they have not reported it. Because you know why? Because they knew. I don't know every reason, but one of them was because they knew that their perpetrator, if he was a Black man, was going to suffer more in the hands of the judicial system. So they didn't report it. And they had children, and they were forgiving, and they wanted it to work, or they wanted their children to see their father because they knew the issue was between the father and the mother and not the children. And I'm not saying that it's okay for any man to harm or hurt a woman. That's not what I'm saying. So don't get it twisted or confused, because there's a lot of enemies out here and haters that will go on their channel and lie about what's really being said. And we have to protect the children. But we can't protect us and our children at a cost that's going to bring us harm or death or hurt to our children. We got to stand up for what is right also. But if you're going to lie about what really transpired between you and your alleged perpetrator, then you got some soul searching to do. And you may be on your high horse now getting likes and clicks and cash apps or whatever else you're getting, and checks to go speak and all these lies that you're telling. But you're going to be held accountable for your lies. One day you're going to be held accountable. And you may be like the rest now that are coming out recanting their stories. And they want to tell the truth, but they've lied so much and they don't know what to do. So they're back and forth with their stories. But if you have a story, tell the truth. Not your truth, but the truth. If you have a story. Instead of lying because you're angry, because you feel entitled, but you made a choice. And for these women that never married these men, and you made a choice. You made a choice. You made a choice to be with someone. And when it didn't work out, now you've changed up your story and you want to lie on these men. You have no heart. You have no love in your heart. You have hate. And you're operating under false pretenses. You're operating under fraudulent stories and narratives. You're operating under the oppressor, because they're the oppressor. That's what they want. They want to kill off all Black men. They want to incarcerate all Black men. They want to do those things. That's what they want to do. And you're falling in the hands of that for some money. You're falling in the hands of that because you want to pay a light bill. Really? Why somebody's life is at stake? I spoke out because I know victims, real victims. I know, and they're survivors. And I'm speaking out for not just myself, but I'm speaking out for every real victim that's a survivor. That I got your back. But we as survivors are not putting up with foolishness and lies to make a mockery. Because there was a time that they didn't believe real victims. And now we got women out here pretending. You know what that's like? To not be believed when you're a real victim? You know what that's like? To survive and not be believed? And then you get on your platform and you lie. Because they got this Time's Up and Me Too movement, all of a sudden it's believe all women. You're making a mockery. And it's a disrespect and an injustice to real victims. And am I calling you out? Yeah, I'm calling you out, Drea Kelly, and any other women that have lied. Calling you out. Because I've had it. And I know a lot of other victims, real victims that are survivors, have had it too. And I will not ever participate in the takedown of a man and a Black man on top of it. Because I can't confirm your story and I'm not convinced. Because most women know what they're getting, most of them. I didn't say all, but there are some women that know what they're getting. And if you didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom, then you shouldn't have never got married. Because for most women, it's an honor to stay at home and raise children. And you say your children was made out of love, then act like it. If they were made out of love, then you should have enough love for your ex-husband to do the right thing and to stop getting on these platforms, dragging this man through the mud, his name, and your children are suffering. Your children are suffering. You don't see it now, but your children are suffering because you keep doing things that are not of God. They're not of healing. They're not of love, and they're suffering, and you can't even see the suffering. You can't even see the suffering because you're so caught up in your own selfish ways that you cannot even see the suffering of your own children. And it says a lot about you because you married that person. You married him, but now you want to bash him. But you're benefiting from royalties and money. See, let me tell you something. Let me tell you the real story. Let me tell you something. I don't know about you. If you've been a victim and you're a survivor, I don't know about you. But I'm going to tell you something. It's not just physical abuse. It can be mental and emotional abuse. It can. Mental and emotional abuse. And guess what? Some victims and survivors don't want nothing from their perpetrator. And I'm talking about real victims. I'm not talking about this little phony stuff. I'm talking about real victims. I don't want nothing. I don't want nothing from you. I just want peace in my life. I just want to be healed. I just want to move on in love, peace, and harmony. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy the things that I wasn't allowed to enjoy. I want to enjoy the things and I want to run through the field free. I can't run through a field free if all I'm doing is bashing the alleged perpetrator. I can't run through a field free and be happy if all I can do is speak negativism from my lips. I can't move on and forgive if all I'm doing is speaking negativism. I can't run down the street free and jump up and down that I'm free if all I'm doing is speaking negativism about my perpetrator. I refuse to give any more energy. And see, this is how it's got to be. Real victims don't want to keep giving energy to something negative or some lies. Real victims, they want freedom. They want positivity in their life. They want to move on. They don't want negative. Because we realize you can't heal with negativity. You can't heal if that's all you keep doing. How is that empower women? It's not. It's not. And I just want to tell my story, and I just want to get my story out there. Your story should have been told to the right people. If you got a story and you're a real victim, it should have been told to the police department. Because, see, we're not operating in the 50s and 60s and 70s. We're in the 20th century. So guess what? Your story should have been told to the authorities, if that's the case. But you refuse to do that. And using somebody's name to keep getting a bag, defaming character, slandering somebody's name. When is it going to stop? When is the judicial system going to step up to do the right thing? When? When are they going to step up? They got to be made to step up. Who is the real overseer? It's Jesus Christ. Because as you can see, nobody's stepping up in these elected positions to do the right thing by the judicial system. It needs to be revamped. There needs to be a revamping of our judicial system. Because the judicial system is supposed to work fairly for everyone that's facing prosecution. But it's not working fairly. Because we have criminals that's walking around that have been given bond, and even the ones that been convicted. And then we have one prisoners that they're incarcerated and they haven't been convicted of any crime. And they can't get a bond. And they keep tacking on charges over charges. They just keep tacking them on. As we see this play out in social media, on platforms, we see it play out. And it's time out. It's time out. And for all you real victims and survivors, we stand together. We got to. Because we can no longer sit here and let these foolish women and these untruths and false narratives take over social media. They're trying. But they can't undo what God has already done. They're trying, but they can't. And we got to stand up for what is right in our judicial system. We got to stand and use our voices and be involved at the local level and stand up. And we denounce all lies that are false. If they're lies, they're false. We denounce those things. And we pray for you that God will examine your heart and clean it up. Because you're not operating in a place of love. You're operating in a place of hate. And you're no better than the same people that are violating rights. You're no better than the oppressor. You're no better than a cold-blooded murderer. You're no better than the same people we talk about that are bringing harm to our own cultures and community. You are no better. You're not. So stop it. Because we're calling you out, whether you like it or not. And I'm going to go ahead and end this live, this stream, but I had to come on and talk about this. Because I'm going to tell you something. I've talked about it with different women of different age groups. And a lot of them see what's going on. And they just said, no, no. They see it. People have common sense. People see the truth and they see the lies. So I just want to come on. Please. We stand and we denounce every lie, every false narrative, every action. We denounce it in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Because it has got to stop. Time out. We're not dealing with a rock we can just throw. We're dealing with human beings and we're dealing with lies. And lying on people and lying on men and constantly doing it is wrong on every level. And for Mr. Kelly, I'm sorry that you're going through what you're going through. And you know what? You're still a human being. It's what you are. And God loves you. And he values all humans. And he is a fair and just God. And I don't have no answers. But I know in my heart that I believe in humanity. And I believe in love. And I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. And I believe in forgiveness. And I believe that no one, if they're innocent, should be violated or mistreated. But I also believe that even if you may have done something, I still believe in the constitutional rights and the presumption of innocence. And Black men should be innocent until proven guilty, not the other way around. And when you see the corruptness in this judicial system in our land, we got to start standing up and speaking out. And Black men, we need you to be there, because most of you, if you haven't already faced some type of judicial corruption, you're going to face it, or it's a possibility that someone can falsely accuse you. And we need your voices more and more and more. And I'm praying that more Black men, broke or rich or medium income, whatever your situation is, that you will speak out and use your voice, whether it's on your platform or someone else's platform, to denounce these lies. Because you could be the next one, or you, someone you know. Stand up. Stand up and be counted. Not counted for foolishness, but counted to try to make a difference and a change. We need to be able to make a difference and a change. Stand up. Be counted. And VLAD TV or whatever, whatever, DLAD or DV, whatever your name is, stop it. With all of that foolishness and these interviews that are biased. People want to talk about these interviews and journalists, but if you're biased, then you're not a good journalist, because a real journalist is not biased. They're unbiased. A real journalist is unbiased. And let me tell you, we have to always remain objective when we're dealing with people. Whether you have a client or whether you're a journalist, whatever job that you're in, especially in the helping field, you have to remain objective at all times. And when you're unable to do that, you have to examine yourself, because there's a lot of journalists out here, including Jamil Hill, all that have not been able to remain objective. Gayle King, none of you. And if you go back and look at some history, some of those women are not able to remain objective because they're still suffering. And they're angry. Gloria all read all of them. Yeah, so as a journalist, you should remain objective. You should be able to remain objective. And we've seen that too with Black journalists that are not able to remain objective. That's not a good journalist. And we can't let social media and the public media believe that's good journalism just because they get a raise or a contract with millions of dollars. We should not allow this type of stuff to set our standards, because there should be standards remaining in journalism. And they don't set my standards. My standards are set by Jesus Christ and biblical constitute and statutes. That's where I set my standards. And I was raised, I believe, the way that I was supposed to be raised, to be fair, to be just, with integrity, to tell the truth and not be lying. So they don't set my standards. And I'm not going to let public media set my standards of what I should believe in. Because I don't believe in false narratives and lying and raising a hand to a false report. I don't believe in those things. And following the multitude of evil and saying things just to get likes and clicks. I don't believe in that. I believe in justice. I believe in fairness. And I believe in remaining hopeful and positive. And I'm not going to give up my dignity for some nonsense and for foolishness. And we can paint all the type of narratives that we want to paint about, well, we don't know their story and they heal the way they want to heal. And how is it that a real victim, how is it that, what, excuse me. Sometimes I get uptight with this stuff when I'm talking, but well, we can't tell them how to heal. And how does a real victim look? We can say all type of little foolish statements and little comments, but we all should have enough discernment and common sense to be able to see the lies and to see the truth. And honestly, I don't see anything so far that's going to change my mind about this whole thing with R. Kelly. What I see judicial corruption. I see injustice. I see unfairness. I see violation of rights, a lack of concern, a lack of humility, a lack of respect. I see that they have a lack of regard for human life. That's what I see. And I see lies that haven't been proven. And Homeland Security should really be doing their job, trying to put children back with their families and restore families, instead of up here doing things that they're doing. Homeland Security should really be doing their job. And they're not, they failed. They failed. And we elect these officials in office. And when they're elected, and if they're not doing what's right by the people, they should not be voted back into office. And that's the real tip. And they all should be held accountable. They should be held accountable because they took an oath to be unbiased, to be fair, to be just, and to uphold the laws and the Constitution. They took an oath. But it's just raggedy stuff going on in this world, raggedy stuff. Even people overseas in foreign countries are seeing what's going on. It's raggedy. It's bad. They see what's going on. It's a mockery. And you have people coming on platforms speaking out about the injustice of R. Kelly. But this has been going on for years. It's been going on for years with women lying. But we just cannot sit here and say and accept it. We need to start saying stuff. Call it out for what it is. Not be hateful, but call it out. Speak the truth. Good morning. Good morning. Speak the real truth. And I'm calling it out today. And most of you that follow me or you're subscribers to my channel, you know most of my messages is about social issues from a biblical perspective. And this is what it's about. Social injustice and a biblical perspective of knowing, and I won't stop saying it, God is a fair and just God, and he expects us to be fair and just in our dealings with everybody, no matter what you're doing. And that hasn't happened for us. It has not. I've never been to prison. I've never been to jail. I've never been arrested. But what I can say is I faced slandering and defamation of character. I've been a victim. I'm a survivor. And I don't really talk about that, but I'm a survivor. But I will never, ever lie on somebody else. Because in my situation that I went through, I saw the injustice. I saw how they did me and how I didn't get the justice that I really should have got. And when I look at people that are being lied on, I'm not bitter. I want you to have justice because I know what it's like to not be given justice, to not be believed, to have all odds stacked against you. And you still got to stand. You still got to keep moving. You still got to wake up every day and go to work. You still got to study. You still got to do everything. And if you have children, you got to raise them and still do what's right. So I may have suffered, but I'm not going to participate in the downfall when it's lies and it's not the truth. I can't do it. Because if you ever faced injustice yourself where they've mistreated you and you suffered losses and all of that, then you will definitely want justice for others. And you wouldn't participate in the downfall of another person. And I'm keeping it real. So, if you're a survivor, I salute you for standing up for what's right. But if you are lying on people, I can't rock with you. I can't roll with you. I can't support you. See, because most real victims don't want to keep a name of somebody that really harmed them. They're not going to get on platforms talking about they earned a name and all that foolishness. They're not going to say those things. They want to run far, far away. And they're not going to be chasing any bags. Let me tell you something. I wouldn't want nothing, nothing, nada from my perpetrator. Because whatever the devil stole from me, God will replace it tenfold. I know what God can do. He can use you to be a beacon, to help others in the way that you should. And if you have a testimony, your testimony should be able to help others, enlighten them, help them heal, help them move to another place, to live a more excellent way. Not get on platforms and be negative and keep speaking down. That doesn't help anybody. And with all the hate in the world and the killings in the world and the hate in people's heart, because the world's not hateful, it's people. Why would you want to do that when you can get on your knees and pray to the Father? Why would you want to do that? You know why? Because money is what's driving a lot of people Money is what's driving a lot of people. That's what they're money. But if your trust is in man, money runs out. Money can be stolen. Money can be frozen. You will always be worried about money and chasing a bag. But if you put your trust in the Lord, He'll see you through and He'll meet every need. There are times checks just come. You'll be like, I didn't expect that. So you always believe that somebody will feed you, somebody will help you. God will bless you tenfold. You don't have to lie to get ahead. And especially falsely accusing someone, their livelihood is at stake. And all you people that have participated in the downfall of this man and any other man, you're going to have blood on your hands, especially if something happens and they don't make it. You're going to have blood on your hands. You're going to have blood on your hands. The Bible is very clear. In Leviticus, don't you not have no conscience? Stand up and do what's right. We should be working towards restoration and healing, trying to get laws changed and removing the corruptness out of our judicial system and government. But we're getting on platforms degrading people and lying on people and humiliating people and defaming their character, slandering their names and lying. But it's already been prophesied. But if we can stand up and stand up for what we truly believe in, because I'm not a woman that's going to compromise my values and my integrity at no expense. I'm not going to do it. I will not do it. And I will not compromise the word of God to please anybody. And for anybody that comes and hears this and you don't like it, stay away. Because the truth hurts. But it's time to speak out and speak up and stand up. God bless you all for listening and tuning in. Share this video if you please to do so. Thank you.